So this week's prompt asks us to talk about implementing contract grading in a classroom. I've had some experience with this, and I think I've spoken about this during curriculum design. Kate, you may remember me talking about this, but Travis Adams in the English department does contract grading in his classes. And I've had the opportunity to take classes with him both as an undergrad and as a graduate last semester. And actually last semester we did some research on contract grading and how it can be advantageous for learners to have that autonomy and that power over their learning outcomes and their learning goals. As a student, I will say the first time, even the second time, when I knew what I was getting into, it's a little unnerving as the student to not receive those daily grades. We always got feedback, and both of the classes were writing classes. So there was a lot of revision and feedback and asking for feedback and workshopping things, but we never got like a grade until the end. We all signed a contract for an A, or a B or a C, depending on what grade we wanted to get. And there were outlines, and we negotiated that contract, and there were outlines of exactly what we needed to do to earn that A or that B or that C. So yeah, it was a little unnerving for me, but ultimately I think it can be a little freeing too, because now you know exactly what you need to do. It's outlined right there. Just go back to the contract. We have control over what kind of grade we want. Like if I was having maybe a death in the family or going through something one semester, maybe I'm not gonna try for that A. Maybe I'm just gonna go for that B and be fine with it. And I think as it translates to ESL or second language learning, it can allow learners to kind of reflect on their own learning and their own needs and their own personal learning goals. Those can be outlined in a contract, and that way each student is getting the most valuable learning for them, for that moment for them. It can be hard. You have to be very clear with the contracts. Some of the research that I've read about developing contract grading rubrics and things like that, sometimes it can be kind of trial and error, right? Like, maybe halfway through the semester you reassess and like, okay, well maybe we're going to revise these contracts, or think about this in a different way. So it takes a lot of self-reflection, I think, not just on the part of the instructor, but also on the part of the student. And it takes a little bit of a period of adjustment, but ultimately I've really enjoyed not only my experience with contract grading as a student, but I think that the research really kind of indicates that this is one way to really empower and motivate sometimes students when they have that power over their learning. They feel like they have that control. Sometimes they're a lot more intrinsically or internally motivated to achieve those goals. So I'd definitely be all for it. Pretty much at any level. I know maybe a little harder with younger kids, but I think middle school on up, contract grading, whether you call it contract grading or call it something else, can be a really valuable method or pedagogy or approach to classroom assessments and things like that. So interested to hear your thoughts, if anyone else has experienced contract grading at all. And I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks.